Hello and welcome to my channel, I Win to Lose Gaming. Augusta, the newest 5-star Electro DPS resonator, is here to put time and time out in Wuthering Waves. In this video, you'll learn everything you need to know to get started with Augusta. Augusta's name, meaning venerable and majestic, certainly lives up to her regal name. And while one might expect Augusta to Augusta la vista her enemies only in the month of August, but don't worry, I'm sure she'll be great all year round. Augusta is a powerful Electro DPS character with a unique time-stopping liberation that will surely stop her enemies in their tracks. As usual, we'll go through her kit, rotation, echoes and stats, weapons, sequences, teams, a showcase, and finally, my opinion on the month of August at the end of the video. Quick note, this video was filmed on the media server and things may be subject to change upon the official release. Please check the comments below to see if anything changed. As per usual Wuthering Waves fashion, Augusta's kit is very complicated. Far more complicated than the month of Augusta, which is rumored to have 31 days and be the 8th month of the year. In fact, I swear I keep saying this in every Wuthering Waves character video, but Augusta's kit might be the most complicated in the game, with 2 liberations, many heavy attacks, 4 resonance skills, and heck, technically 4 forte meters as well. Fortunately, it all boils down to a simple rotation, but it is important to understand some of the basics of her kit. Augusta has 3 main forte meters that we need to pay attention to. The prowess meter is this purplish bar with 100 points, ascendancy is the gold circle with also 100 points, and majesty is this bottom gold bar with 2 points. Augusta's goal in combat is to fill up 2 points of her majesty, aka the gold bar, so she can cast her time freeze liberation too. So to put her kit really simply, you want to fill up her gold circle, which lets you use her forte, and that forte generally generate a gold bar, which will let you use her time stop liberation. So most of the things in her kit fill up both her purple bar and gold circle, with some options being much more efficient than others. First, her basic attack string fills up a tiny bit of the gold circle, and more importantly fills up her prowess, aka the purplish bar. Filling up her prowess, aka purplish bar, allows her to use her enhanced heavy attack to normal attack combo. This enhanced heavy attack to normal attack combo is important as it generates a decent amount of her ascendancy, aka gold circle. Then we have her regular resonance skill, which fully fills up her purplish bar, and it provides 10 points of ascendancy, aka gold circle. Then we have her Liberation 1. Liberation 1 is executed by simply tapping the Liberation button, and it spends all of her 125 energy. Her Liberation 1 provides a hefty 40 points of ascendancy, aka the gold circle. And finally, her intro skill generates 20 points for her ascendancy, and fully fills up her prowess, aka the purplish bar. Alright, now that we finally filled up her gold circle, her resonance skill will be replaced by her enhanced skill, and mashing her enhanced skill 3 times will consume that gold circle and she'll generate 1 gold bar, aka 1 majesty. Finally, with 2 gold bars, this gives her access to her hold liberation, where you need to hold the liberation button for a second or so. Her hold liberation will freeze all timers, where you can indiscriminately smite your enemies for defying her majesty, and once you fill up this golden sword forte bar, so I guess her hidden 4th forte meter, she'll end her time freeze with a final nuke. Now, why is it that in most situations you actually only need to fill up her gold circle 1 time, despite it only generating 1 gold bar? Well, her second major passive basically gives her a gold bar, aka majesty, at the beginning of a fight. And this part is very important. If an ally under the effects of her outro performs an outro, then Augusta will gain a gold bar. Since Augusta's outro buff lasts for only 14 seconds and can't be swapped off of, make sure you stay on the character without quick swapping and perform their outro, or else you'll get scammed out of a gold bar, and with the price of gold these days, you don't want that. Anyway, in most situations you'll only need to fill the gold circle a single time in Performer Forte to generate a total of 2 bars. Alright, and Augusta will constantly generate a small shield whenever she attacks the enemy, and her teammates will, in most situations, gain a small shield when they cast an intro skill, and her outro skill provides 15% damage amplification for 14 seconds, lost when the character switches out. Alright, that was a lot of yapping. Gold circle this, purplish bar that, and gold bars galore. But fear not, for I present to you a cookie cutter rotation that will fulfill all of her forte bar needs. First, intro Augusta onto the field, use her echo, then use her heavy attack to basic attack combo. Then use her regular resonance skill and tap liberation. Use another heavy attack to basic attack, and that will fill up your golden circle, allowing you to use her enhanced skill 3 times, aka her forte. After that, use her hold liberation to stop time, and this is the easy part where you can just mash that basic attack button like the enemy owes you your third Dorito. Finally, you can use your echo again if you want, and then outro. Now, the general rule of thumb for Augusta's rotations is that she'll want to do 2 heavy attack to normal attack combos to help fill up her ascendancy. Since her intro skill and resonance skill fully fills up her prowess, which is the purple one, which is what you need for the heavy attack to normal attack combo, you want to do the heavy attack to normal attack combo after either her intro skill or her resonance skill. Yeah, this is her starter pack rotation, and it's admittingly more complicated than the average Jiyan. This rotation though does fulfill all of her various forte requirements, and as you play you'll get a bit more familiar with what generates what. Your rotations will frequently deviate from this due to many variables such as, well, enemies trying to murder you, the wrong attack coming out, etc, but practice makes perfect. However, the biggest mistake that you can make is swapping off of the character whom you outroed to from Augusta. So just make sure that the character that gets Augusta's outro buff doesn't swap off and does their outro, so that way you get the gold bar. Finally, her time freeze liberation, as far as I'm aware, freezes all timers, including Tower of Adversity timers, your character cooldown timers, and your other character's actions, although overworld NPCs seem to be immune to this time freeze. However, it does not freeze multiple waves of enemies spawning in, which is fantastic unless you've got beef with the air and you'd rather be punching that instead of your enemies. Now, one issue with her time freeze is that it cancels characters that stay on field, like for example Chakona, and more importantly, it ends Frolova's puppet state, so do keep that in mind. A bit unfortunate, but it is what it is. For her talent priority, prioritize her liberation, then her forte, followed by her basics. You can level her skill and intro last.
Another way. Fight by my side.
We've made it to Augusta's Echoes. Augusta is the next character to be blessed with another new 3-piece Echo set, the Crown of Valor. The Crown of Valor, let's be real, is tailor-made for her. She will gain 6% attack and 4% crit damage whenever she generates a shield, stacking up to 5 times, thus leading to 30% attack and 20% crit damage for Augusta. And for the 2-piece set, the Void Thunder is her best option, with Lingering Tunes being a reasonable substitute. I do recommend running the standard 4-3-3-1-1 setup and equipping the False Sovereign 4-cost Echo. This thing just provides 12% electro damage and 12% heavy attack damage bonus. And for the main stats, the 4-cost Echo is generally crit rate, although with certain higher crit rate weapons, crit damage is a reasonable choice as well. For the 3-cost Echoes, as usual, double electro damage is recommended, although 1 attack percent 3-cost Echo is fine, but 2 attack percent Echoes is not recommended. And for the 1-cost Echoes, use attack percent. For Augusta's substats, it's the usual crit rate and crit damage followed by attack percent, and then heavy attack is pretty good on her as well, since most of her damage is considered heavy attack damage. As always, energy regen is a moving target, but generally 14 to 28% is roughly how much you need, depending on her team. Finally, as usual, flat attack isn't worthless either. Augusta's weapons are fairly straightforward, with her signature broadblade, the Thunder Flare Dominion, being her best option. Fortunately though, if you pulled for Jiyan's weapon back in the day, the Verdant Summit, it's a pretty decent option since it provides some pretty heavy attack buffs. So yeah, if your Jiyan's weapon is collecting dust, it's a great option for your Augusta. The other signatures are usable on her, like the Ages of Harvest and Wildfire Mark, but they start to fall notably behind. Her best free-ish to play-ish friendly option though is the standard 5-star Broadblade, the Lustrous Razor, and this is starting to deal a lot less damage. Of course, you can consider using some 4-star Broadblades like the Ariete Zenith and the Autumn Trace. There are of course a few more options, so feel free to take a look at this weapon chart.
Another way.
Fight by my side. Unmatched!
And for those of you that made a fortune selling Labubus, we've made it to Augusta's sequences and investment priority. Augusta sees a massive 30-ish% upgrade, upgrading from her free-to-play friendly weapon options like the Lustrous Razor to her signature weapon. However, if you have Gion's signature weapon, her signature weapon is not a high priority. Her Sequence 1 is pretty solid, providing the much appreciated quality of life of not getting knocked around as well as some additional damage, and her Sequence 2 provides a ton of crit rate, and any crit rate over 100% gets converted to crit damage up to a certain point. Sequence 3 is also quite solid, improving most of her multipliers by 25%, and Sequence 4 provides 20% attack to the entire team. Sequence 5 is an expensive stepping stone to her Sequence 6, which does a ton of stuff and needless to say just improves her damage substantially. So yeah, to summarize, if you don't have the Verdant Summit, I recommend going for her signature weapon first. And as usual, Sequence 2 is the big one, although Augusta's Sequence 3 is also quite solid. Augusta's teams as of her release are reasonably flexible, although personally I do expect Yuno to be a solid teammate for her, but of course that's just speculation. As for her teammates as of release, Augusta is actually surprisingly flexible given her generic 15% damage amplify outro. A free-to-play friendly team consists of Augusta, Mortefi, and a healer, preferably Shorekeeper, although Verena as always can work. Mortefi provides that hefty, heavy attack amplify, which Augusta benefits greatly from. One minor issue though with Mortefi is that you may need to extend your rotations a bit by doing an extra heavy attack with Augusta, since Augusta has a long 25-second cooldown, while the others on her team have shorter cooldowns and rotations. Yelin can be used instead of Mortefi, and yes, her rotations are also on the shorter side, so do keep that in mind. Augusta also works reasonably well with something like Furlova, since Furlova provides heavy attack amplify, which Augusta can take advantage of. Keep in mind though that Augusta's Echo, despite being able to be used 2 or 3 times per rotation, only counts as 1 Echo cast for Furlova. And again, Augusta does cause Furlova's puppet state to end early, but fortunately Furlova can still do her super intro, so it's not the biggest loss ever, but it does limit their synergy. Personally, I actually liked running a second DPS like Carlotta with Augusta, with Augusta going second in the rotation instead of third, and this way Carlotta can benefit from the 15% damage amplification from Augusta's outro skill. Here are some initial team calcs as well for you all to absorb via those balls of the eyeball variety.
Another way.
Fight by my side.
Alright, we've got a few showcases for you guys, and you will have to, pardon my voice, might have COVID, might have hand, foot, mouth, might have both, I'm not sure, but I guess really I don't feel as terrible as I should considering what the potential illnesses are, but that stuff has been traveling around my social circles lately, my son's daycare, my wife's work, and stuff like that, so yeah, not sure what we have, but it's something. Anyway, I actually feel fine, so don't worry about me too much. Just my voice, though, does not sound fine. Anyway, let's talk about this Augusta showcase that we have going on here. The showcase is, I would say, kind of a more free-to-play-ish friendly team with Verena as well as Mortefi. And we can see here that it appears I have somehow butchered Verena's rotation there. I'm not sure what I was doing, but alas, this was one of my earlier runs in the series and stuff, and while I was kind of experimenting with Augusta, but hey, it's fine all the same. And here we go, we can just see that's a pretty standard 1-1-1 type rotation, and in particular, as I mentioned, it is actually very, very important, at the very least, as of me recording this video, for Augusta when you swap Verena on with this outro, to not swap cancel off of Verena, and instead to make sure that Verena just stays on field, and then outros. I mentioned this multiple times, but I want to reinforce it because if you lose that gold bar, you are basically, going to be in big trouble in terms of Augusta's rotation. So yeah, but now we're going for the second rotation where I think I'm completely cooked here, but regardless, I really should have re-recorded this, but oh well, alas, it's fine. It's good enough. Not the perfect rotation, but good enough for this. So yeah, the next fight here is with Shorekeeper, and this is something that I noticed a lot. And normally I would restart the run, but I figured, hey, I think this is a good opportunity to actually leave it in to showcase, because one thing I really noticed about Augusta, and I'm so sorry about my voice, but is that she is very, very easily interrupted. And this means that, a lot of her combos and stuff will get interrupted. But fortunately, most of kind of her more important abilities, you can see here that despite her being interrupted multiple times on her forte, she was able to do it again. And they were quite, I guess I would describe this as a bit more generous in comparison to some other characters, like, for example, Brant. But in this case, since she's able to kind of recast her forte, even if she's interrupted during it, this means that, you're not going to lose that gold bar. You don't have to refill all your ascendancy again, which is definitely a big hit in her efficiency if that is to occur. But yeah, keep in mind, Augusta definitely gets easily interrupted unless you have her sequence 1. Now, the next team is a team that I personally enjoyed using. Now, I'm certainly not going to say this is Carlotta's best team or Augusta's best team, but one nice thing about Augusta is that you are able to use her a bit more flexibly than you might expect. She's definitely more of a main DPS role. However, you can use her as the second character in the rotation in order to provide that 15% damage amplify to the next character coming in this case, we're using a double DPS setup with Carlotta, and holy cow, she went up so high against the Morning Ix. I never know how to pronounce his name, but yeah, so regardless, of course, Carlotta, very fantastic DPS character, and yeah, I personally really enjoyed running a dual DPS setup here. And the rotation worked out just fine. You can see my personal anecdotal clear times here, along with one Furlova run that I didn't showcase here. But yeah, the runs did improve as I got a bit better with the teams as well, so do keep that in mind. But yeah, anecdotal runs and just a few showcases. So yeah, there you go, a full guide on Augusta. Hopefully teaching you most of what you need to know to get started with Augusta-ing around. Augusta brings with her a new full time freeze mechanic where you can move around and beat up enemies, which honestly on paper actually ends up just being part of her full rotation and liberation damage, but it does feel innovative and quite exciting. Her being reasonably flexible on her release is another plus side to her design as well. I will say this though, that I personally predict Yuno to be a fantastic teammate for her, so do keep that in mind if you're planning to pull for Augusta. Let me know what you think about her down in the comments below. As always, I appreciate every single one of you. This is I Went to Lose, signing out.